Welcome back, sweet love, to the Quantum Soul podcast where the mystical becomes the embodied and we go on a journey of remembrance and reclamation of the truth of who we are, where we remember our soul's gifts, where we step fully into our divine purpose and we no longer let fear get in the way. My name is Tyha Sloan, and I'm so excited to be sharing this message with you today and to be continuing on the story and the teachings through this series of introducing myself and also sharing with you how you can create the life of your dreams and fully step into your soul's purpose in this life. So, in the last video, or in the last podcast, I shared about one of the biggest moments of my spiritual awakening that happened back in 2018 when I was 3 weeks into my mechanical engineering job right out of college after studying for 4 years to do that work. And I realized, I can't do this. This is not right. I gotta do something else. And all of these beautiful things that had to happen for me to take that next step and have the courage to let go of that old identity and step into something new. So as I did that, I manifested without even knowing what manifestation was at the time. I co-created my dream career, my dream job at the time with the universe. And it was the most incredible feeling. I remember driving down from Silicon Valley, which is in Northern California, very techie area of the world, driving down the coast, landing in San Diego, realizing that San Diego is literally a city that's on the ocean. I found a home 1 block from the beach. These were all things that I was desiring to manifest. And my system just took this huge breath of fresh air and remembered, like, this is what my soul has been craving. This is the environment that is going to foster the growth that I am here to experience, the joy, the love that I'm here to experience. And not only did my environment change, but my entire career changed. I went from super professional, super corporate mechanical engineering job to a startup that was just learning how to do things. And what I had wanted was something that was unprofessional, something that was super laid back, something that had a really family vibe, which was so beautiful. And that's exactly what I got. And so I started working in this job right away and helping people, serving people, coaching people, strengthening my coaching skills, my embodiment skills, getting connected with my body, and all these little places that, if we live in our heads all the time, we just wouldn't know are happening down there. And it was just a beautiful change and like clear step, what I called the breadcrumb from my soul, right? Clear step in the right direction. Now, as I get into this job, I am like in the honeymoon phase. I'm like mind blown. Oh my gosh, I get to be free. Yes, my paycheck got cut in half, but I don't even care because I'm so much happier. And it really taught me how to really remember what's most important, right? And so I'm surfing all the time. I'm going to work a few days a week, being in the office, getting really close with my coworkers and helping people in our online communities all day long. And I was so in love with this work. It was helping me so much. It was helping me learn about myself, about my own body, about the places within me where fear is locked, right? In that kind of chronic pain. And I got to this place where there's a honeymoon. There's a hummingbird outside the window right now. I have a tattoo of a hummingbird. They're my spirit animals, so every time they fly by, I always kind of highlight the point that I'm about to make. So pay attention to this one. It's super common for us to take the next step and make a big change and then want certainty, right? We want certainty that this is it, that we found the thing, that I'm gonna be safe now. I've figured it out, right? We all have these huge parts of us that just want to figure it all out so that we can be done and we can relax. But what I've learned is life would be pretty dang boring if we figured it all out and there was nothing that challenged us anymore or made us uncomfortable anymore. So I'm in this job for about a year, and there's certain things about it, again, I loved it, but then there's certain things about it that I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Like something feels off. I couldn't put my finger on it because I was so blinded by like the freedom and the enjoyment and how different it was than what I thought I was going to have to do for my whole life. And I got to this point where I was like, I want to open the center for this company as it keeps growing, because it was growing rapidly. I want to open the center for this company in Hawaii, because at that time I thought I was going to want to move back to Hawaii at a time in my life in the future. That's how bought into it I was. I was like, I love this so much. When we feel so in love with something, what can tend to happen is we become blind. We can become blind to what's really going on. This happens in a lot of things. Jobs, relationships. Oh my goodness, how many of us have been so blinded by all the good things that we've ignored the red flags. So, this is what happened. I'm in love with this job. I'm feeling so aligned with my purpose and my enjoyment. And about a year in, within a 2-week span of time, I was in this new relationship. First time I had dated somebody in like a few years and really liked them. I was in this relationship. I sent him to a personal development course. He came back from it, and he broke up with me. So he came back from it and he broke up with me. And I was devastated. Holy shit, I was devastated. And I had never been broken up with before that. So that was really, really, really painful. 2 weeks after that, I get pulled into the office with the higher ups in the startup that I was working for. And I'm just sat down and I'm told, you can't work here anymore. You're fired. And my world just crumbles. I am shocked to my core. Mind you, I had left this job, this secure engineering job, changed my entire life, moved across the state to a completely different area where I had never really spent any time before. I had changed everything. Let go of all of my old perceived security for this job, and they sit me down and they tell me, Taiha, you are fired. I had no notice. I had no idea of why I was fired. They figured out later on that they got to expand on their management skills. We were all learning at the time. Everything was brand new. It was a beautiful and yet really challenging experience. And I remember being in a personal development seminar that evening. I was in a program at the time, and I go to this seminar, and a couple of my coworkers were a part of it, so they were holding me as I'm crying, and I go to the front of the room, and I'm sobbing my eyes out in the front of like 50 people, and they had us speak the possibility that we are. Every time before we do anything, we're speaking the possibility that we are. So as my entire world is crumbling, I got broken up with and then right away fired. I'm at the front of the room, I'm sobbing, and I'm saying, I have the possibility of love, confidence, joy, purpose, and I'm just crying. It's like all of this stuff is like scraping away from me as I'm crying away this thing that was becoming clear to me was no longer aligned. It took a few weeks of me fighting the universe, being like, this shouldn't happen. They shouldn't have broke up with me. They shouldn't have fired me. This is not right. I'm like getting cheated. But something in me after that experience was like, it's too coincidental. It's too big of a thing. It's too wild to have it all had happened that way for it to be an accident. And I remember shifting into the mindset that this is divine redirection from the universe. This is not happening to me. I am not a victim of this experience. This is happening for me. And I remember even being in the front of that room at that seminar, crying my eyes out, speaking out vulnerably what had just all happened, and finishing it with the like, I'm still kind of crying, but I'm like, I thought maybe when I'm 40 or 50, I'll start my own business. But maybe this is the universe telling me that, no, you gotta start now. And I just have so much gratitude for that sweet girl who was in pain, but chose to see the possibility through it. Who consistently, over those next several months, chose to see, why is this happening for my soul's evolution? What is this pushing me towards? What am I the possibility of? What do I want to stand for? For myself and for the world, because the way I stand for myself becomes the example for the world. I cannot teach something. I cannot help people. I cannot serve humanity if I'm not embodying what I want to teach. And so I use this opportunity as that growth edge, as that reclamation of perspective, of narrative, of how I want to see myself and the world. And I chose to see that the universe always has my best interests in mind, even through perceived failures. I'll say that again. The universe always has our best interests in mind, even through our perceived failures. Every time something fails, every time it doesn't go the way we think it needs to go or should go, it's because we are being led to, we are being taught something that we need to understand at a deeper level that we couldn't understand if it just went the way that we wanted it to. And I've had to learn this lesson over and over and over again in many different areas, in many different ways. But this time period of my life was a huge opening and expander for me. Because this is the thing. How we choose to respond to the things that happen create what happens next. If I had gone into victim mode, if I had gone into, oh, this isn't right and I should just go back to engineering because this one failed, or I am not going to make it as a coach because they fired me, or any of those old stories, you can feel the energy that that would have created, the trajectory that that would have sent me on. So instead, I chose what story I want to live in. That everything that leaves my life, relationships, job opportunities, old ideas that are no longer aligned, all of those things, when they are complete and when they leave my life, it's only because something better is coming. So this is your invitation, my love. What parts of you have you been allowing to stay in those victim and negative stories around failure, around rejection, around it's not working, it's never going to work? And how can you start shifting and deciding, claiming, choosing the story that you want to live in? That's what creates your life more than the circumstances. Life is going to happen. Things are going to be shitty. Things are going to happen that you don't want to happen, right? After that last breakup, I went through 2 more breakups. It was 3 breakups, 3 summers in a row after that. And I was like, God, again? Are you freaking kidding me? But because I had been practicing embodying this teaching, I handled those breakups knowing something better was coming, knowing that the pain was exactly what my system needed to melt away and scrape away all that was not truth, all that was not in my highest alignment with my highest truth, with my soul's true plan. And through that, I manifested my soulmate, who I have now been with for 3 years. I became a relationship coach because I learned how to be with all of that pain, but in a supportive way, not a detrimental or looping in stuckness way. And every time something goes wrong in my business, that's actually been the place where I've gotten to practice this the most. I have had parts of myself that have a harder time seeing that, have had a harder time seeing that positive perspective. Relationships has been easier. Business has been a little bit harder, but I'm seeing it more and more, that every time something doesn't go the right way, as I step closer to my soul's purpose, it's just the universe saying, oh, try this. Oh, nothing's wrong. You're just learning. You are learning what you need to learn to be a deeper embodiment of what you are here to teach, to give, and to serve with. So another way that has looked is like I'm constantly allowing my system to reinvent itself. I'm in that phase right now. I went through huge chapters of being a movement coach and being into fitness and being like, this is the thing. And then I realized it's not the thing anymore. And then I move on. I did personal training for a while. That was kind of just I knew that was going to be a placeholder as I explored. And then from there, I explored becoming a life coach, which I'll share more about that chapter of my journey in another episode. But I was like, maybe life coaching. And then that wasn't quite it. Maybe somatic coaching. Oh, that wasn't quite it. Landed with relationship coaching. And I was exploring that for a good while, but as soon as my system's like, we need a redirection, and sometimes it's an internal feeling, and then sometimes the universe is like, slaps you across the face when you don't see that you're in something that's not working anymore. That's what happened when I was at that job. I wasn't going to leave that relationship. I wasn't going to leave that toxic job. The universe had to slap me across the face to get me to get out of it. But I welcomed it. So I practice as often as I can welcoming those shifts in identity, those things that feel like an ego death, because our egos attach to these things, like I shared in the beginning. Our ego attaches to these identities so that we can feel safe. Oh, now I'm a movement coach and I work for this company. Oh, now I'm in this relationship with this person and they give me a sense of worth, so that's who I am. Oh my God, I can't even tell you every time I got broken up with. It was like, who am I anymore without this person? So I had to find myself again. I had to dive deep within and find, who am I at the core? And now it's like I've been doing this relationship work for a while, attached to my identity of being a successful coach, being a successful, person on Instagram with a bunch of followers. I've had to recognize that, like, that's not who I am. That's something I've attached to feel safe. And if I attach myself to something for too long, and I use that thing for my sense of self, for my sense of safety and security, then I pull myself further and further away from my soul's true magic. My soul's magic cannot be condensed down. It cannot be boxed in to a certain thing. And I'm not saying that anything's wrong if you choose to be a relationship coach or a movement coach or whatever you want to be your entire life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is recognizing when we've attached our sense of self to something outside, and it usually has to do with the way we are perceived by others and the world for worth. So, we want to learn how to embrace those ego deaths, those identity shifts, as often as we're called to them. This can be a moment by moment thing. This can be a daily thing where you're constantly choosing to allow yourself to adapt, to shift, to grow, to evolve, and trusting that if you go from one thing to another, you're not failing. I'm going through a chapter of this right now, which was very interesting to explore, because as I kind of shook myself out of the identity of the relationship coach, something I've been recently doing is singing lessons, and I've been loving singing. It's very challenging to do the lessons because I'm unlearning a bunch of bad habits and learning new ones, but I'm feeling the growth and the benefit, and it's amazing. And I went to a concert that actually was this catalyst to opening myself up to not doing things the way that I was. And so as I was unshaking from that, I was like, whoa, what if I actually want to be a singer? I love singing my whole life. I've wanted to, perform. I've wanted to do that thing. And so I went super deep into that for like a few weeks. But my deeper soul's calling pulled me back to like the spiritual aspect of myself, these deeper teachings and ancient traditions and all these things that my soul has been interested in for a good while now, and I keep deepening into. It was like a pendulum swing. I just needed the pendulum swing to get me out of what I was in. And it's not that singing, like I'm not gonna pursue performing singing, but it's just like allowing yourself to flow like that and to see it as it's happening and be understanding that we are constantly growing and evolving, and we don't have to live in extremes. Like the moment you feel you want to be a singer, like cut everything else out, go for that, and then, maybe it is aligned, or maybe a few months later you're like, oh, that was just, that chapter in my journey, let me swing back. Like, that's okay, right? And we get to allow that to happen with as much consciousness as possible. So it's this idea of letting yourself be so fluid and not making yourself wrong for anything, right? I could make myself wrong for saying, oh man, I was just into this idea of being a singer and like really excited about it. I don't want to fail. I don't want people to think I'm a failure if I don't fully go for that now. Like all of that can come up. It comes up within me. But I'm trusting that my soul's truest, most fulfilled path, the deeper I listen to my greatest excitement, to my heart's nudges, following the breadcrumbs that the universe and my soul lays out for me, like being led to certain opportunities or certain teachers or certain things, the more I follow that, the more it's all gonna land together. Like, I truly feel that the singing is going to be bridged with my purpose in some way. I just don't know how yet. And I'm letting that be okay. I don't actually have to know. And so the overarching message that I want to get across is that we want to really practice letting ourselves fail. Letting ourselves be redirected, letting ourselves not attach too hard to any specific thing externally, because when we do that, we typically pull ourselves away from our truest soul's path, the path that's been laid out for us, the path that we are here to align ourselves with. It requires constant evolving. And when we evolve, our life will evolve. Everything that we are engaging in will evolve. So the more we can allow that to happen and lay things down when they are ready to, or get them slapped out of your life, and trust those tides, trust those currents, that life is guiding you exactly where you need to go if you could just trust, surrender, and follow. So I hope that this lands for you in a deep and profound way today, and I'd love to get any reflections from you on what you're noticing in your life, what you've become identified with, a little bit too attached to, and where has your soul been calling you to make a shift, to take one step in this direction instead of taking those mundane kind of autopilot steps in the direction that you've just become accustomed to. And how can you start just aligning yourself 1% more with what your heart knows to be true? It might not be a mental thing. That's really important. To me, it's been like my heart is just pulled to something, and it won't make logical sense most of the time. It'll typically be the most illogical thing, because this world has taught us to think logically, to think it all out, to have it make sense. So we've been living in that matrix, this grid of this is how it has to be, this is how you stay safe, this is how you find happiness, success, da-da-da-da, when we all know that's typically very not the case. So it's a radical act to drop into your body, to feel into your heart, and let it guide you. And it might make no sense. It could be as simple as your heart, instead of going to the gym today because you go to the gym at 4 p.m. every day for 5 days a week, instead of going to the gym, you go for a walk on the beach. Or you go to the library and read a book, or Barnes and Noble, and you let your heart guide you to a book that you are called to. Or you go have coffee with a friend. You let your excitement and your joy and your heart guide you. And it might not make logical sense. You might not get any immediate result. But what you are cultivating is that inner sense of self, that inner sense of happiness and success, because you are connected to you. You're not connected to these outdated matrices that are not keeping our highest good in mind. They're keeping us trapped. They're keeping us contracted. It's time that we reclaim our power and we get to live the life that is meant for us. All right, my love, I love you so much. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today on the Quantum Soul Podcast. Stay tuned, like and subscribe to this channel so you can receive all the goodness and continue taking actions and aligning with your soul's divine path. I love you so much. Thanks for being here, and I'll chat with you again soon. Bye.